Welcome, everyone, to this episode of the Gretchen Casey Show, where I talk to real people in the field of real estate who are not only experts, but they are generous and they're willing to share their knowledge and their wisdom with us here today. The goal of the show is for you to gain some information and tips for you to reach your goals in owning real estate and to take some of the guesswork out of what to do or who to call in the process. And today, I am so happy to have Quentin D'Souza with me. Quentin is a real estate investor, a landlord, a teacher, a coach, and he's an all-around leader. I first met Quentin when I attended his Durham REI meeting. I want to say maybe 6 years ago, or I'm not even sure how long ago, but at that time, it was a smaller but growing group, and he'll tell us more about that today. I really feel Quentin's knowledge and his teaching skills and his passion are so inspiring, and he's taught me a great deal about real estate investing strategies and how to work with your mindset as well. And he has a great platform to help people network and has helped me greatly. So Quentin, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce yourself and give a little background about who you are and what you do in real estate investing, landlording, being a leader, a lender, whatever you want to say in your introduction.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started investing about 20 years ago, and I experimented with a whole bunch of different things. I've completed the Smith maneuver with my personal residence. I've done stock investing, and I've invested in businesses. But one of the things that I 20 years ago, when I started to invest in real estate, I really felt that this was the path that made the best sense for me and my family to do better and make huge leaps in net worth gains, but also create an alternate form of income for our family so that we can do other things together and travel and just enjoy, some of the success that we had gained. I mean, when I came to Canada when I was 3 years old, and, we really started with nothing. We were the immigrant family. Actually, funny enough, I don't really say this too often, but when we came, my family, like as new immigrants, we stayed with the people we didn't know, and we actually lived underneath the basement stairs of a friend's house.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
Where did you come from? What country?
Well, I was born in Fiji, and then so we came from Fiji to Canada. Stayed with people that we knew for I think about a year, and then we lived in down by Bathurst and Finch in an apartment building for a while, and then moved ourselves up from there to different places. I used to work 3 jobs when I was 12. I started working, as a dishwasher at a restaurant, and I used to have. When I was in grade 3, I had 3 paper routes, so I was always somebody that was a hard worker. But I really wanted to make sure that my family didn't have that same sort of struggle when it came to income, and so I wanted to make sure that we had created a wealth for our family so that it could be intergenerational, but also to help to push them to do more for themselves and to improve. And so that's basically, we started, I really started to go heavy in real estate in about 2008. I was buying 4 or 5 properties a year. And at this point, I have about 25 million in real estate assets that has grown. We keep, last year we purchased 12 units, 9 units, 2-unit properties. This year we've got about 13 units already, and I'm planning to do a lot more multifamily buildings, and I do that with partners, and just continue to grow. And I really think that, like, real estate is a great avenue for people to be able to improve their life, right? To do things that wouldn't normally be able to do, because they have the ability to create an asset that continues to pay them again and again every month, and that the value of that asset increases over time and just ends up, if you look back, like over the last 30 years, let's say, in the GTA. And, you look at how real estate has grown, it's basically doubled every 10 to 12 years in value. And then you can go back to the 70s and come up with the same scenario. The thing is that people they only look at, they only look at, oh, well, it didn't happen in these 2 years and it didn't happen in these 3 years. But what happens over the long term, if you have a long-term point of view, is that you have the ability to get through the ups and downs, and you get to see the success of your real estate portfolio over time. And it's the difference between a speculator and an investor, right? And so I consider myself a real estate investor, and I try to instill that amongst the people that come out to Durham REI meetings. Like, have an investor mindset, look at the long term. You can do short-term things, that's fine, but make sure that you're also taking into consideration the long term, like exactly what you want to see happen.
Oh, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And were your parents real estate investors, or was that just your own thing?
No, I didn't come from any real estate investors at all. I think, my mom was a teacher, and my dad, he was a computer. Back in the 70s, they would call them computer operators. So they had, like, punch cards that they put into like machines, and they would
I
do
remember
stuff.
that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was that, and then he was a security guard for a long time. So I mean, it would just, I didn't have any family or friends that invested in real estate. I had like one uncle on my wife's side, but that's about it. And I didn't really talk to him about that. It wasn't a good example around that. So I created Durham REI in 2008 because I needed a peer group. And then we actually started off with 4 people at a Tim Hortons restaurant. And, every month we would meet, we would have different speakers. Then we moved to a bar, which was great because you could have like a drink and talk, and and then we went to the back of a dentist's office because one of the members was owned the office, so we could meet back there. And then we went to the Durham Corporate Center, and each time keep growing and growing. And I think we were like 80 people at the Durham Corporate Center, and it was just too like compact in there. And so we keep growing, and now we have between 120 and 150 people that come out to the meetings. And I'm not, myself, I'm not a mortgage broker, or I'm not a mortgage agent, or a real estate agent, or I don't sell property management services. But for me, I want to educate people, because that's my background. I have, I was a teacher. I left teaching in 2014 to focus on my real estate portfolio full time. But I still enjoy that. That's one of my great whys in life, and you got to figure out what your whys are. And that's one of my great whys, is to teach. I enjoy putting together stuff so that I can simplify difficult concepts, so that people understand it. And then also I love to see people make big changes in their life. Like, take some of the people that I've worked with, sometimes they are accountants, and they've been able to build their portfolio so that they can leave that position or choose what to do. One gentleman was a truck driver who he was able to make changes so that he started down the real estate game, was able to gain confidence and leave that, being a truck driver and focusing on his real estate now. I mean, there's just lots of people out there, and I really enjoy seeing the improvement and changes. And so you got to figure out what your whys are. I know my family has always been a big why for me, and I want to make sure that my wife and my kids are well taken care for. But I also, for myself, my why is, I enjoy helping people and helping them to grow beyond where they thought they could go. I love seeing people who thought they could go here, and then really they get here, and then they still have lots of growth. So that's one of the things that it's why it's important for me to help and coach and teach people. But you know, if it were just money, I would be focusing on my real estate portfolio because that's truly like the most, like the greatest wealth that I've gained has been through my real estate portfolio. Even like I'll give you one example, that like the 12 unit building that I bought last year with a partner in Oshawa, we've turned over probably about 4 of the units, and now the rent is up about $2,000 a year compared to it was before. And that really, based on that and comparable buildings, the value of the building is probably about $500,000 more than what it was last year. So just by making all those changes, doing the turnover, reducing expenses, increasing how we, we're accounting for the laundry income, all of that. Now we've increased the value of the building. So it makes more sense for me to focus on those buildings, but you also have to figure out, why do you do what you do too? And I think for everybody, you gotta, just gotta go deeper, like there's an exercise that people do is like ask why 5 times. And if you keep asking why, so what, like, why do you need money? Well, you need money because you want financial security for your family. So why do you feel like you need financial security for your family? Because maybe there's when you came to the country, you had this or that. So everybody will have 5 whys, and if you the further you can get down, you get to the essence of what's driving you, and then you can use that essence to get you to your next goal, or a higher achievement than what you've done before. So it's a simple exercise, but I think it's quite powerful for a lot of people, and it helps on the mindset path, right?
Yeah, that's a great tool, and you're really good at sharing those tips and information and things that have helped you. And I like hearing about your why, that you want to build your portfolio. We want to help others to do the same and see that excitement of them achieving much more than they expected. So that's very cool. I love it. And you
Thanks.
share in your meetings a really cool mantra as well that I kind of like. And would you mind sharing that with us here?
Yeah, so I'll tell you that the background is that one of the reasons why we have Durham REI is because I want to be around people that are taking action and doing stuff. I'm not about having people in a room who are just talking and not doing things. Like I want to be around people who are out and getting things done. The point of going to a meeting is to educate yourself, but then after that, it's to do something with it. And the reason why we have this is that we want to make sure that we have a good mindset, and we're always, when we say things out loud, it makes a difference, because sometimes people use mantras in the morning to kind of help them, to motivate them through the day. But for me, it's not only that, it's reinforcing that everybody around you is here to do the same thing too. So the way that we do it is, I understand success comes from the implementation of knowledge and not the acquisition of it. I will capture the ideas that resonate with me and apply them to my life, because this is what action takers do, and I'm an action taker, right? You want to, focus on the fact that you've got knowledge, that you've picked up knowledge, or you've associated with somebody that you've learned from. Now it's time for me to do something with it, because without the action, no change happens, right? And sometimes, we often talk about the comfort zone, right? Everybody, it's easy to get lulled into, the same routine, and you get into a comfort zone that you feel like this is okay. But growth only happens when you do something that takes you out of that comfort zone, that makes your stomach feel funny, and that, that you're able to go out and do something different. Like, I give you a good example, like you yourself, right? Like at the meetings, you'll speak and you'll stand up. There are other mortgage people in the room There are lots of other mortgage people there. They raise their hands. But, because you've stood up and you've spoken and you've been able to share, information, you already feel more comfortable with doing that. And at some point, you had to get out of your comfort zone to do that, right?
Oh,
Once you've
absolutely. It was totally out of my comfort zone. I forced myself to speak.
And then once you did it, like, you've done it, and then the next time is easy, and then the next time it becomes easier, right? And now look at you, like, you're putting together like these interviews and posting them out there, like, that's, it's not in everybody's comfort zone to do. But I mean, the only way that you were able to grow is to do it, right? and
Absolutely.
and it's the same with real estate. The only way that you're going to be able to grow and invest in real estate is to go out and do it. Um, and for some people, maybe that means like working with a partner. For some people, maybe it means like, just building your team and doing it yourself. Like, whatever that process is, you need to figure it out, but you got to go out and do it, right? Whatever it is.
Yeah. So you've been brave enough to go from owning, so you started somewhere with smaller portfolio, you now grown to a big portfolio. And a lot of people, that's their dream: quit the day job, be a real estate investor, have lots of properties, partners. Do you have any specific tips, couple maybe to share with those people who have that dream, but maybe have only bought one, or they're just feeling a little frozen about, what do I do? How do I get there?
Well, I've got a few tips. Is like, I mean, like, Durham REI is a great group, like, being around people, but it doesn't have to be Durham REI. I don't care who it is, as long as you're finding people that have already got to where you want to go, hang around them, because those people will push you more than the people who normally would be around you, because they are not going to push you in the same way. Being around people that have different types of successes already, number one, that's going to help you quite a bit. Number two is, make sure that you focus on the next property. Don't focus on the 20 properties that you need, or like, everybody has these door numbers that I think it's all, anyways, it doesn't make sense. Like, I need 100 doors, or I need 50 doors, or I need 30 properties. It's not, I don't think that necessarily is an easy, like, a good way of thinking about it. I think what you can have that as a long-term goal, that's not a problem. But what you should be focusing on is, what am I going to do in the next 90 days to achieve the goal that I'm set myself for? So, so focus on like the next property. So, get that property done and focus on the next property. Don't focus on 10, don't focus on 20, just focus on the next property. And I think that's a better way of doing things. Number three is to, build a great team. Like, have the mortgage agent with you that understands real estate investing, because it's different than somebody who just does like, residential real estate and that's it, right? There's having somebody like yourself who understands like the investment side of things makes a big difference. Finding a realtor. Most realtors, like, I've done more properties than most realtors, because honestly, they're mostly part-time, and they don't do a lot of volume, right? But there are great realtors, the top 20% of the realtors that are out there that are amazing, and and then you have those that just focus on investment properties, and that's what they do. Like, build that team of people that have that experience, and you would contact other investors that you've been hanging out with to get those references from, right? Having good property managers that you can call and talk to, or other peers that you can ask questions of. That's all, really helpful for you to help to build your business and get it to grow. I think that one of the other things that I advocate a lot of is cash flow. And, I know that it's more challenging for people in different markets, specifically, if you're in the downtown Toronto market. But the problem is, I think, is the team that you've built hasn't seen the other options that are out there for you. Like for example, if I was in Toronto, I would probably look more into the Scarborough market and see if I could take a single family home and then add 2 units to it rather than one unit. So instead of doing just a secondary suite with an additional unit, which is possible in Toronto, right? Because they have the the third unit, that availability there, because of parking regulations and all of that. They've got that. So that's something that I would look at. Out in the Durham region, I might look into the Oshawa or Clarington area for duplex conversions, because the numbers work. I'm still able to get a cash flow positive. Well, now I'm able to get a cash flow positive asset, and I will still get the appreciation that's there. So I think, if for another tip is make sure that you have cash flow positive, but also in an area that's appreciating, which is, can be more challenging, but it requires you to do some work. Like, get out there, do some research, talk to people. It may not be the Durham region, maybe it's out in Hamilton or London or Ottawa, but wherever it is, you need to go out there and do that research and have an understanding of what's happening in the area. Is the population increasing? Is there some sort of like Oshawa for a long time, and still, some people have a misunderstanding that Oshawa is simply a GM town, right? And they don't understand the diversity of employment that's here. And GM is not even in like the top 10 as an employer anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. So those people who have made that assumption are going to lose out because they haven't done enough research to understand the area. So I think that's something that's important too. So there's some education that comes with that, and that's why we have Durham REI, so that people can educate themselves, and we've got lots of online information that helps them to go at their own pace and learn about how to do the due diligence of various areas and stuff. So that comes with that teaching part for me, is that I'm interested in making sure that people understand those pieces so that they don't make big mistakes. Because when you make mistakes in real estate, it can cost you a lot of money, right? And we don't want to have people make those big mistakes. If you buy a stock and you lose like $100 because it went down $100, that's okay. But if you have we've purchased an asset that has a $20,000 foundation issue that could have been, having the right realtor, having an inspection done of the property could have avoided that, then that's different. So having the right team together is important. There's lots of tips. Like I could talk for like hours and hours on tips, but I mean those are a few things I think that'll get you going in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, that's excellent. Those are some really helpful tips. So thank you.
Cool. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so another area, people, right now, there's a lot of concern because of COVID and the restrictions and the pandemic, and people are uncertain. Some people aren't acting, some people are waiting, some people aren't continuing with the pre-COVID plans. Are you concerned? And if not, why not? Or what would you have to say to people who say, I gotta wait because of COVID?
Yeah. For me, that makes me laugh, because those people are always going to wait. I talked to them in 2008 and I talked to them today and they're still waiting. So I've got to me, I've got no, and you know what, if they would have bought in 2008, they would probably be hundreds of $1,000s, ahead of the game. And so for those people, I say keep waiting, because I'm going to keep buying property. good for you. Wait for as long as you want. I think it also has a lot to do with taking a short-term mindset and applying it to a long-term asset, and that's probably what they're doing. They're trying to time the market, and this isn't the stock market. This is an asset that really is, the longer you own it, the more that it's going to be worth. And you may have gyrations, within 2 years, 3 years, but over the long term, if you're thinking about 10 to 12 years, like I said before, typically real estate assets double in that period of time. So it's better to try to hold on to the asset for a longer period. And there are ways to mitigate risks. Like one of the things that I've been doing for a very long time is buying properties that need work, fixing them up, adding value. More value is added to the property than the actual money that we put into it, and then we refinance the property and pull the money out. So I think the acronym is BRRR, but we've been calling the buy, fix, refinance, and rent strategy. Actually, I've got my buddies and I wrote this book here, Jeff Woods and Andrew Brennan, quite a while ago now. And it's about, using that strategy to build our portfolio of properties. And that's a strategy that you can still do today. So if you're really concerned about the market, take an asset that requires work, buy it with a little bit of equity in it because it needs work, do the work, and then increase the value of the asset more than what you've put into it and more than what you paid for it. So, and I actually just did that like a month ago. So we bought a property and we got probably about 520,000 into the asset. This is a duplex in Bowmanville, and I would say it's probably worth about 600,000. Now it's not, it's not all my money out. It's not any of those things, but it's still like to me, that's a good single or a double or triple, right? And I'm really good with that because now the asset is still cash flowing, $500 a month. I've got less than $20,000 into the asset, and I can keep doing that again and again. So if you're fearful of the market, find strategies that can help you to address those fears. Take a longer term point of view. And right now we're still having multiple offers on properties, and the real problem is that there aren't a lot of properties available, because if you don't need to sell, you won't sell, right? And that's more typical for what we experience here in the GTA. We are typically having 100,000 people a year coming to the Greater Toronto area. They all need houses, and we don't build enough for them. And there will be like changes and gyrations that happen in the market, like in Toronto, shifting from Airbnb and short-term rentals back into the long-term rental market because of COVID is causing a short-term drop in rent rates. But if you go back and you look at the actual facts, rents haven't really dropped in the GTA since rents have been tracked in the early 1970s. So before, people look at real estate too micro. They look at the school that's near the real estate, but they don't look at like the larger factors around the city, the area, and that sort of thing. And as an investor, that's what you need to do. You need to look more than just like the school where the real estate is. Look at the area, then look at the province, and then look at what are the bigger picture macroeconomic conditions. What's happening with interest rates? So what do you, what's your guess? Do you think interest rates are going to be going up in the next 6 months? 2%, 5%? Yeah.
No.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And so from a real estate perspective, you can purchase that asset, hold on to it. And if you're concerned, go put it in a 10-year rate. Like, I wouldn't do that, but if you're so concerned, go put it in a 10-year rate, and then you have that hedge against interest rates rising, if that's what your concern is, and then move on, hold the asset then, right? Like, don't, don't make excuses about, oh, it's going to go down. Nobody can predict the future, but what you can do is take hold of what you know today and then do something with it, right? Take some action. And one of the things I like to say is I like to hang out with action takers. So that's why we have Durham REI.
Excellent. I love
Right?
it.
So go ahead and buy, make sense. Don't buy like just because it's cheap doesn't make it a good asset, right? Buy a quality asset that gives you cash flow, that appreciates, and, hold it for the long term. You can do some things in the short term to generate cash for you, but in the long term, this is where real wealth is made, right?
Good advice.
I had this one example from a gentleman I really respect, and it was the hockey stick analogy when it comes to real estate. And what often happens is, like, if you look at the hockey stick, right, you've got the blade of the hockey stick and you have the shaft. Well, what typically happens with a lot of real estate investors is they hold on to the asset, and, they're at the bottom of the hockey stick. And then as it starts to go up, they sell right about here at the just above the blade, but really they miss the whole shaft of the stick because they've sold it so quickly. And that's that short-term point of view. That's the person who says, oh, like, market's going to go down in in the next year or 12 months or 24 months, but they're missing the whole point of investing. So and what they're doing is speculating, not investing. So anyways, I could keep talking. Sorry.
I love it. No, that's why I'm so happy you're here talking to us. So, yeah, so I guess I would ask, in the interest of time, just give us your last piece of advice for Canadians right now. What would you say?
I mean, one thing that I would want people to do is have a greater understanding of the money system, and why it makes sense for you to buy an asset that's leveraged. Like, why? So if you were to go out and you were to borrow money from a bank and you were to open a business, right? I mean, how much money do you think they'd give you? Well, you probably have to put, like, I would say, every, like, if you were to buy a business, you would probably have to put down, let's say it was $100,000 business, you'd probably have to put $80,000 down, and the bank might give you $20,000, right? If you bought like stocks in the stock market, right, you might be able to put, if you took a loan against your stock market portfolio, you may be able to get 50% of that. But if you go to a bank and you want to buy a house, all you have to do is put 20% down. What does that tell you about risk? What does it tell you about risk in that asset? And why would the banks do that? I think you should go back, and Canadians should think about that for a minute, because if you don't understand that, then I can't help you. Like, come on, man. Like, even the banks are saying that this is an asset that we're willing to take a risk on because of the long-term, point of view. And if they can, then, so can you.
And
So
5% down if they're going to live in it, right?
like, this is like a no-brainer. So I mean, the fact that you're able to do that is amazing. So take advantage of this, because it's not the same in all countries. So, like, we don't have, like, you have to go and look at other countries. We're often compared to the US, but go look at Mexico, and when you try to buy, how do you put, can you get mortgages, what the mortgage rates are, what it looks like. We're blessed in this country, and we need to be able to understand that and to try to take advantage of that. Canada is an amazing country. And if you don't, if I think that I think in general, and this is more of my own opinion, that, I think people tend to blame other people. It's always somebody else's fault. And I think that you have to take responsibility for yourself in order to create your own, your own wealth. And I think that real estate is one of those ways that you can do it, so that you should go out and get it done, right? So, take advantage of what we have here in Canada. Look at, what banks are willing to do, and then, go out and I suggest you go out and look at some rental property, or come out to a meeting with somebody like any group that's close to you. At least go out and meet other people that are doing it, because it'll help to inspire you, right? And I think that's the key. Doesn't matter, you don't have to come out to Durham. Like wherever you are, go find it. There's lots of groups out there. Go find it, but find people who are already doing it, and that'll make it a lot easier for you.
I think great advice. Really appreciate all your really helpful tips to everybody, because you've succeeded. You're grown so much for yourself as well as for others. So thank you so much for being our guest here and sharing so much. And if people want to join Durham REI or find out more, where should they go? What's the contact info?
Yeah, just go to durhamrei.ca. It's an easy way, and we actually have a 1-877 number that they can call as well. You'll have to see it on the website. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I mean, they can call in there if they have if they have any questions about it. But I think that's a good opportunity for people to learn. And we've got like hundreds of hours of support materials and webinars and training there for people to learn. Because, funny enough, people don't know that we call it Durham REI, but we have members in Alberta and BC and, Quebec. So it's kind of interesting.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
And are you doing coaching right now? Personal coaching?
Yeah. I'm not really good at this sales thing. No, I do coaching, and I help people and I work with them. You can find out more information on the coaching on durhamrei.ca. There's a page there on coaching, and I work with people. I do have an application process. I don't want to waste anybody's time, and especially like my own and theirs. So I want to make sure that it's a good match. So we have an application process, and then I take people based on the application. And I believe that I will only be doing the coaching until the end of the year. So that will probably be it for me on that side. But that's what I'm doing right now on the coaching side.
Okay, excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Quentin. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh yeah, me too. I look forward to seeing you in person soon. I know this is we'll be back. We'll be back.
We'll be back. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Take care.